AI will help you. It's a tool. It's not going to replace the things that are innately human, like having that experience of knowing, wait a minute, I'm going to go deeper in this and really make sure I understand the research that's getting pulled, or only I know how I can sell myself in terms of a cover letter or a resume. It will help me. It's a tool, but it's not going to replace, my experience, my network, how I think about the world. And I think that that's why we're seeing these softer skills or human skills like collaboration, leadership, really becoming, super important to companies as they're hiring employees. Yes, they want you to be AI literate, but they also want to make sure that how's your conflict resolution? How do you problem solve? Do you have a growth mindset? Those are innately human skills.
Hey everyone, welcome to HerMoney. I'm Jean Chatzky. Today we are diving into a topic I know is on many of your minds right now, just because of the world that we're living in. And it's, how do you stay confident in your career and the future of that career when it feels like everything everywhere is changing around you all at once? Expectations were already high, but now that AI has entered the chat, all the gloves are off. According to a recent LinkedIn survey, more than half of professionals say that learning AI feels like a second job. And many have even said that they've exaggerated their own AI skills just to keep up. But here's the silver lining. The most trusted source of career advice is not AI. It's people. It's our friends, family, colleagues, the mentors that we've been leaning on for years, which is why I am so excited to welcome my guest today, LinkedIn career expert, Catherine Fisher. Catherine's here to talk about why your network is more than just a list of connections. You may think about it that way, but it's not. It is a secret superpower. Catherine, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
So let's just start with AI because it's on so many minds. What types of jobs are under pressure from AI? What do we have to worry about disappearing because of AI? And conversely, what's exploding in demand because of AI?
Yeah, I would look at it as less about what jobs are going away, but what tasks are being replaced with AI. So it's, if you look at your day-to-day, how you're doing your job, there's going to be parts of it that will change, that will be different. But then what replaces that are a lot of those human skills. With the rising demand of AI, there's also a rising demand of a really good experience with communication and leadership, collaboration. So it's more about how our jobs are changing. And what's interesting is that there's a bit of disconnect. So companies are wanting to see more AI adoption, and then employees are thinking, well, I'm not really getting the training for this. I'm not really sure where to start. And so there needs to be kind of a coming together of the two. And this is why people, I believe, are feeling a little embarrassed that they don't know as much as they do. But the thing to remember is that we're all learning it at the same time. So it actually makes it more of an equal playing field for people. If you're all starting at the same time, learning together, and really kind of figuring out what works in your job, that's kind of where the magic starts to happen.
What does LinkedIn's data tell us about how quickly this shift is actually happening?
I would say that it is happening rapidly in terms of different types of tasks changing. So think about whether it is transcribing meeting notes or helping with build an agenda or do research. There's different things that I've kind of slowly incorporated into our day-to-day work lives that maybe a few months ago felt really brand new and you weren't sure. And now it's second nature just to record a meeting and take a look at those notes. So I think it's kind of slowly becoming more part of people's day-to-day work. But then there's obviously some people who have not tested it and tried it. My advice there is just start playing with it. Just to, it doesn't have to be all day, every day, but just a little chunks of time. That's when you're going to start feeling more confident in your AI literacy.
It feels like, along with those meeting notes, I can't get rid of the little fireflies that follow me around these days. It feels like, along with those meeting notes, resumes and cover letters are kind of AI table stakes. That if you want to get in there and do a little practicing, your resume and a cover letter, and everybody should have those in this job market, are a very good place to start and get your feet wet.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is the thing, is that there are AI tools out there that are really at your advantage if you're looking for a job. So you can have AI tools help you with your, like you said, your cover letter, your resume, your LinkedIn profile, but it should only be the first draft. So what you don't want to do is just kind of take whatever is given to you and just use that as your final. You're going to need to put your own thoughts into it. Only you know kind of that special expertise that you have. So it's really important to use it just to help it's with that like first draft that's sometimes so hard to get on the paper, and just helps you kind of nudge you in the right ways.
We hear a lot about people being replaced by AI, but we also hear a lot about people being augmented by AI. Can you just give me a few examples of where you see humans plus AI outperforming humans alone?
Yes, I think one of my favorite examples is in the real estate market. So if you're a realtor and you're spending a lot of your time on pulling the comps, gathering the marketing materials, trying to figure out how to write a really good description for the house that's going to sell, that's taking away from the time that you are out there networking with potential new clients, or taking your clients on a house tour and really helping sell them the vision of raising their family in this home. So that's how it frees up time from the things that may not be their core skill set, and allows them to do the things that they're really good at, and is going to make a bigger impact on their job and on their livelihood.
How about in terms of research? Many of us who are in jobs that require writing, require data packages, do research on a daily basis. And I think AI has proved to be incredibly fast and useful for that. I'm working on a book. I got a Perplexity subscription. Yeah. I've used it to help me with research. But I have had to go back and really prod and poke and double check to make sure that the examples, for example, that they are serving up are not 100% fabricated, because in many cases they seem to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is whether it is writing your cover letter or doing research, it's only to help you start. It should never be the full reliance on it. It helps maybe get your juices flowing in terms of, okay, I want to kind of go deeper in this area, or let me do that kind of 3 clicks down and really get to know the data that they're talking about. But absolutely, it is not meant to replace all of that thinking. And this is I think the good thing about what we're seeing is that AI will help you. It's a tool. It's not going to replace the things that are innately human, like having that experience of knowing, wait a minute, I'm going to go deeper in this and really make sure I understand the research that's getting pulled, or only I know how I can sell myself in terms of a cover letter or a resume. It will help me. It's a tool, but it's not going to replace my experience, my network, how I think about the world. And I think that's why we're seeing these softer skills or human skills like collaboration, leadership, really becoming super important to companies as they're hiring employees. Yes, they want you to be AI literate, but they also want to make sure that, how's your conflict resolution? How do you problem solve? Do you have a growth mindset? Those are innately human skills.
You said in a recent video on LinkedIn that you are trying to do something with AI every single day. I think that's a laudable goal. Yeah. What have you been doing?
Oftentimes it's like figuring out new prompts. So yesterday I was in a meeting. I did my usual in terms of like, it's now second nature to me just to hit record. And that just, it helps me because I personally get very distracted. And so I need to be able to go back to it. But then I pulled out the notes and then I just did a prompt of like, can you make this shorter? So that is an example of just testing it. And it spat out something that I still had to go back in and edit, but it really helped me make it more concise. Another one that I just heard of that I'm going to start trying is, can you make this, like if you put in some text, make this 25% fewer words. And just those little things, when you start playing with it, you'll start feeling more confident and you'll start getting, I think, better results back. But it just means you have to play with it. And then when you see it as more kind of your assistant, your tool, it becomes really fun. I think it's fun to see what it comes back with. And it always helps me kind of just get it a little bit better than what I would have done myself. And it definitely saves time. But again, only I know, like some of the things that come back, I'm like, that seems a little redundant, or I wouldn't have said it this way.
Right. Sometimes when I'm talking to Perplexity, and it does feel like I'm having a conversation with it, yeah. I go back and I ask for things to be more conversational. Talk to me like you're talking to a friend. Talk to me like you're talking to your younger sister. And they seem to react to that and come back with things that are a little bit closer to what I'm looking for. Talking about the importance of people, I was at Fortune Most Powerful Women's Conference yesterday, which is just always a room full of amazing women making connections, exchanging information, helping each other. I mean, seriously, these are women who are there, yes, to get help for themselves, but helping each other. The latest data from LinkedIn shows that 43% of professionals say their network is still their number one source of advice at work. How do we make these relationships with other people feel less transactional? How do we make it feel more friendly is the wrong word, but that's kind of where I'm trying to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head, is to not make them feel transactional. So just like the example I always give is that you wouldn't call up someone, that you haven't talked to in 5 years and ask them to help you move, right? Like you would call a friend who you just had coffee with last week and know all about their kids and, are really good friends with them. So it's the same thing in that professional network. You want to keep up the relationship, and it doesn't mean you have to take someone out to dinner every week. It just means that you're interested in what they're doing in their career. You're engaging in their content. You're reaching out. I heard a really great piece of advice is sometimes, like, if you're just standing in line somewhere, just send someone a text and just like nothing to do, not asking for anything. Just, hey, I was just thinking about you. Hi. Those small little gestures keep your network alive. And I think your network is one of the most important things in your career. We're all going to go through really good times. We're going to go through hard times in our career. And that's really when your network will surround you and help you in those moments. But they're not going to be able to help you if they feel like we actually don't really have a connection and I don't know what you've been doing. And if you find that you're in that spot where, hey, I haven't really been tending to my network and I need to really kind of build those relationships, just start small. Whether it is just quick reaching out, commenting on a post that you've seen of theirs. If you do want to spend time, like if you do want to ask them some questions, always make sure you time bound and, hey, do you have 15 minutes to ask these 3 questions? I know I haven't reached out. Just acknowledge it, but just start small, and that will kind of revive your network. And that network, honestly, it's going to help you learn new skills. It's going to help you make introductions to either new jobs or partnerships, etc. It's so important.
Where are we right now in the job market? The data's up and down, right? If you look at, we are taping this in the middle of a government shutdown, so we're not getting any data, or the data that we're getting is sort of weird ancillary data. Where do you think we are in terms of the strength of the job market? What are you seeing in terms of people taking a longer period of time to get a job, in terms of people holding on to their jobs because they're afraid to leave? How bad is it?
It's really competitive, and I think it is taking people a lot longer to secure a new position. There is a lot of uncertainty, and I think what's also happening is that people are seeing that companies are wanting you to be AI literate, and maybe you are not. And then it's taking longer to get a job. It's harder. It's more competitive. So there's a lot of things that are kind of contributing to that feeling of unease. I think that what's happening also is people aren't necessarily being strategic in their job search. So what's happening is that they are just applying everywhere. And so they're not hearing back because they're not really qualified, or they don't have the right skill set for the jobs that they're applying for. And so then the recruiters and the hiring managers, they're getting inundated. They just simply don't have time to respond to everyone. So it's this vicious cycle then of, wait a minute, I keep applying, I'm not hearing back. But what you're doing by not being super strategic is that you're putting all your energy into roles that you probably won't hear back. So my advice is to be really thoughtful in terms of, what are the skills that I have that these companies are looking for? It's as easy as looking at the job description, taking inventory of the skills that they've published as a required skill, and then, do you have them? And if you don't, and if this is something you're really interested, go learn those skills, etc. It can also signal to you, though, that maybe you do have those skills and you're just not highlighting them enough, whether it's in your LinkedIn profile or your resume.
I wanted to just jump in there and ask a very women-specific question, because when we talk about skills we have versus skills we don't have, women and men approach this very, very differently. Men can have a fraction of the skills, but talk a game like they have 100% of those skills. Go and apply for that job with full confidence, and maybe even make it show up in their resume and their cover letter in such a way that they get an interview. Women, if we don't have 100% of the skills, don't feel as if we can put ourselves out there and fake it till we make it. How much should we be trying to put ourselves forward, even if we don't have 100% of what's being asked for?
So I don't think you're going to need to have every single skill that they're publishing. But I do think that the most important skills, you're going to want to be confident that you have those. And if you don't, go take online courses, go talk to your network about how do you build those skills. Where AI does help in terms of the job searching is that on LinkedIn, there's something called Job Match. And what it'll do is it'll show you how qualified you are for a role. So it's really important to look at this, because then you can see, okay, they are looking for these 5 skills. Maybe I have all of them, but it's saying I don't. So make sure that you're adding those skills to your profile so that you do show up in those searches, and that when you do apply, that you're going to qualify. And if you don't, then I would say it's important to either, start to acquire them. But in the meantime, give examples of your growth mindset and examples of when you have learned a new skill, because you don't want to pretend you can do something that you don't. Because frankly, if you do and you're not able to talk about it with real confidence and fluency, then you're not going to feel good in the interview, and it's going to come through. And then what if you get the job and turns out you're actually not, you don't have the required skills. So again, it's really about showing that growth mindset. Like, how have you learned in the past is something that we know that having a growth mindset is really important to hiring managers.
We are back with LinkedIn's career expert, Catherine Fisher. We're talking about the very, very frustrating process of applying for jobs these days. It's kind of, in my mind, akin to applying for colleges. Kids are applying to so many different schools that, of course, the success rate in admissions is going to go down. The same thing is happening in the job market. People are throwing their resumes into the pile for hundreds and hundreds of jobs and then not seeing it pay off in interviews. So how do you escape the cycle?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I actually have a child who's applying for colleges right now. And yeah, he's applying to many that I know that he may not get into, but it's kind of a gamble, right? Maybe he will. So I think it is really important. You do want to be strategic in your job search. So you want to have a good sense of what you would be qualified for. I think that where people sometimes get stuck is by being precious about the industry that they're in. So you're going to want to widen your aperture, but you want to widen it with being really strategic that you're a good match for that job. So it's less about applying for every single job that's out there that you may or may not qualify, but it is about applying for as many roles where you're qualified across industries. And so the reason why this has become, I think, more successful for people is because companies are now looking at those transferable skills. So we really saw this during COVID, was that when some industries like travel, obviously, they were really hit really hard, whereas healthcare, they were having a hard time finding people. So it was those transferable skills that really opened up roles for people. So I think it is about being strategic, looking beyond what you really thought you wanted to do. And then also sometimes you're going to make a lateral move. You may go down a level, but don't look at it as always a negative. Look at it as, how are you building up the skill set? How are you building up that network? How does it help you kind of with your longer term career goals? Because your job is not your career. It's the collection of experiences that really creates these opportunities for you. So reframing it, but it is a really hard job market out there right now. I don't want to also sugarcoat it and just say, look at another industry and you're going to be fine, because that's not the case. But it is really kind of trying to rethink your job search.
You mentioned two things that you said employers are really looking for these days. One is a growth mindset and one is transferable skills. How do we put these things in our resumes and in our cover letters so that it shows up that we have them? What are the words that you want to be using? What are the phrases specifically that you want to be using? My guess is, and I got to be honest, I have not written a resume in a very, very long time, but I think I wouldn't want to put, hey, I have a growth mindset on my resume. How do I telegraph that I have it without saying it out loud?
Always lead with impact. What companies want to see is, how did you help solve a business problem, help bring in more sales, turn around a team that was struggling. So by leading with what it is that you did, and then if there was a new skill that you learned, is it that you helped, let's take AI as an example, you helped the company train entry-level people at the company, learn these new skills that led to whatever impact it is. You want to be able to really kind of do that storytelling. And I think people sometimes get a little awkward about this because it's hard talking about yourself and like all the wonderful things you've done, but you want to get used to it. And if you're job searching, like, your job is to sell yourself. So really think about, like, how did your work, your skill set lead to something that mattered to the company? And that's how you frame it. You also want to make sure, so on LinkedIn, you can actually add the skills to the specific experiences. Make sure you're doing that as well. And then in there's an about section, that's where you would do that storytelling of showing, I increased sales by X percent, led a team that had 95% positive ratings in terms of the company score, et cetera. So you really want to show kind of like tangible examples of what you've done.
Eventually, it often comes back to the people. How much of a difference and how important is it when you're applying for jobs at companies where you really want to work to make that personal connection, or to have a personal referral, or to have somebody in the loop helping your resume rise to the top of the AI pile?
It really matters. I think that this is a great example of how your network can help you. Having that personal in is going to absolutely make a difference. And if you don't know anyone at the company, but you see that one of your connections is connected to someone at that company, reach out to them and ask, would you make an introduction for me? And again, this is one of those examples where I would say be really specific about what you're asking for and why. Hey, I'm interviewing for this, or I want to get an interview for this job. I see you're connected to the hiring manager. This is why I think I would be a great fit for the role. Could you, help make an introduction? So being really specific about what it is that you're asking for. And this is, I talked about how our careers have ups and downs. And maybe this is a moment where you're really going to need to lean on your network. Do it, especially if you're looking for a job.
Because people are going to come back and lean on you. And then you'll feel a lot more comfortable about giving that help. If you were advising a mid-career professional today, someone in her 40s, 50s, maybe early 60s, what would you say are the most important things that she needs to learn right now to stay relevant in this AI economy?
I would just say it is the basics of AI. So become confident in your fluency. And again, this is not like you don't have to go build the code. You don't have to use it for super complex business problems at this point. You may get to a point where that is easy for you, but just little things is start incorporating it into your daily routines. Ask your network, how are they using it? So I, for example, saw someone in my network did a post on LinkedIn, how they upload the transcripts of podcasts and just say, can you summarize this for me? Because they didn't have time to read it all. And like those little things little examples from your network can really help you start thinking about how to use it. But I think that confidence in terms of it, the other piece of advice I always give is if it feels overwhelming in the workplace, start in your personal life.
Absolutely. I was just going to go there. I know so many people who are using it for menu planning or for vacation planning or just those little types of things. The important thing is to get comfortable with the technology.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And just what you said, it's great for menu planning. It's great for planning vacations. Even helping, I had a situation in our personal life where I had to send an email to someone that was a little uncomfortable. And I asked for coaching, does this sound okay? And so little things like that will get you more comfortable.
As LinkedIn's career expert, let's go back to LinkedIn as we wrap up this conversation. What are the 3 changes that you think most people need to make to their profiles to just make them a little bit better?
Yeah. Add the skills to your experience section. So literally just going through where your jobs are. There's a little thing where you can just add those skills. Make sure that your about section has that storytelling. So really making sure that you're showing the impact that you've had for a company and interesting ways that demonstrate your growth mindset. And the third, this is such an easy one, just have a photo. You're going to come up more in searches.
Catherine Fisher, thank you so much for this wide-ranging conversation, a really important one. I think it's going to make people feel a lot better.
Great. Thanks for having me.